Hi guys, welcome to this tutorial for beginners in AutoCAD 2018, and here you will learn the commands of the sections Draw and Modify. So after this video you will learn almost everything you need about 2D drafting. Also in the description I added a list of contents where you can proceed to the command you want to learn by clicking on it. And the explanation will be in a very simple but illustrated way, like here. So let's start. Command line. This is probably the most basic tool and the one you will be using most of the time. So to activate it, just click in this icon there. Then click in where you want to have the first point. And then click again for the second point of the line. For example, here. But if I want the line to have a specific length, hold the mouse in the direction that you want the line, and finally type the distance that you want, for example 500. But please note, after typing the distance, it's not possible to change the direction. So press enter. Then if I want another line to start in the end point of the last one, I can click anywhere to place the second point, or simply press Escape to deactivate the command. Command POLYLINE. You click in the icon next to line, then you click to enter the first line, after the second line, and as you see, this is for drawing connected lines. This one I want it in this direction with a length of 1000, so I type the value and press enter. For the last line, if you want to connect it with the first point, you can simply type CL, that means close. Now what differs from the command line to POLYLINE? If you click on it, it selects all the lines that are part of the polyline, because it's only one object. Circle. To draw a circle, I'm going to click in this icon, then I click to insert the center of the circle, then I click again to define the radius, or type it with the keyboard, for example 1200. So simple. But this command also has another options. If I click in the arrow under the command, I can see different ways to draw a circle. This time I will choose center and the diameter. First I click to insert the center, like before, and this time instead of the radius, if I type 1200, will be the diameter. With the option 2 point, the circle will be drawn with two opposite quadrants. For example, if I want it between these two lines, first I click in this one and then vertically in the other side. The option tangent, tangent, tangent. I have to select three lines, 1, 2, and 3, and the circle will appear in the only place where the lines are tangent with it. By the way, the option tangent, tangent, radius, I select just two lines, and then I have to specify a radius of the circle. If I type 200, the circle will appear in the only place where is possible this case. Arc. To draw an arc, I can click in the icon, or as well as the common circle, if I click in the arrow, there are lots of options here. And by default, it selects this one, Start, Center, End. So first, I click to insert a start point, then the center, which will be this intersection, and then if I drag the mouse, I can see how the arc will be. And this is important. The direction of drawing is anti-clockwise. I will click in this endpoint to place the arc here. And with this, I mean that if you want to draw starting with this point, then click there for the center, you will not be able to draw it as before. Now I want to draw an arc using these 3 points. I choose the option 3 point, then easily just click in the first point, in the second, and the third. This maybe is the most easy way. The option start and direction is going to be very useful in cases like this. I will insert the first point, then the second point on the other side, and if I want this line to tangent the arc in this point, the tangent direction of the first point has to be the same of the line. I hover on the endpoint and drag in the same direction until appears this label extension. So you click and it looks pretty good. Command rectangle. This is also simple. I click in this icon, then again to insert the first point, and to draw the rectangle just click anywhere where I want the opposite corner, or type the horizontal and vertical distances from the start point. First we type the horizontal distance, then we press the button Tab and insert the vertical distance. And here you have the rectangle with the dimensions I typed. Command Polygon. If I go to the arrow next to the command rectangle, I can switch to polygon. Then the first thing I have to do is to enter the number of sides. For example, if I want an hexagon, I type 6. Then I will use the center of the circle for the center of the hexagon. And then I have 2 options. First, I will show you the option inscribed in circle. And with this, I click where I want to place one of the vertex. On the other hand, if I choose circumscribe about circle, I click where I want to put the middle point of an edge. And this time is the circle that will be inside of the polygon. Spline. With this, we can create smooth curves. And there are 2 main ways to do them. First, I will show you the command spline CV, which we will draw a spline with control vertices. As you see, we keep clicking to draw the line, and when we finish, we can type CL to close it. Then, if I select the spline, you can see the vertices there and the curves passing between them. And if I click in any vertex, I can change the curve in that part. The other option is the command spline fit, which is the first one here. Now we do the same process, but this time you can see that the curves are passing in the points that I'm clicking, as you can check now that I clicked on the spline. And this command can be very useful for drawing borders of irregular areas. Like in this case, I can draw on the border of this island. And I'm showing now more or less in a high-speed drawing. And when you finish, you can type CL to close the spline. Hatch. This command is used to fill enclosed areas. I will click in its icon, which is located there, and then I click in an enclosed area to fill it with color. Then I can click in another one or press Enter to exit the command. Another option is to click on the arrow at the right and click in gradient. So if I click now in an area, this creates a surface with a mix of two colors. The gradient, I can change it to one of these types, or if I want different colors, I go here and choose the colors that I want. Another option is to set up a pattern to the hatch. I click on it and then I change it to this one that says angle. Here it's also possible to change the scale of the pattern. This number 1 here is the default scale. Now I will change it to 30 and you can see that it came much bigger. Okay, now I'm going to show you the most used commands of the section modify. It's very important to know how to use most of them if you want to draw your projects much faster. So let's start with the most basic. Move. With this, you can move one or several objects to a different place. I'm going to click there. I select all the objects I want to move and press Enter. Then click to specify a base point and click again in the position you want to move the object. If I type a number, I will move that distance from the base point in the direction of the dashed line. Command Copy. I can type CO to activate this command, select all the objects, press Enter, specify the base point, and then copy it to where you want. As you see, it's like the command move, but it keeps the original object. Now let's see an option of this command. If I type A for array, then I type the number of objects to array, for example 5, and I will have 5 times my selection copied, including the original one. Now I will enter a distance of 2000 to have the drawings disposed like this. Rotate. I click in the icon there to make a rotation. I select my objects, specify the base point, and this will rotate around that point, considering a horizontal line to the left as the default position. And as you see, it's getting hard to place the drawing straight. And how to solve it? Going back, select the objects again. I specify the base point, and now I'm going to type R to insert a reference. I press Enter, and then I'm going to define a line which I will rotate the object. I select the first point of the reference line and then a second point. Now I can easily rotate it and place it in a horizontal position. Command Trim. If I click in this icon here, I will be able to trim off sections of objects. I select, so let's start. And I can delete all the sections between the intersections, once they are selected, of course. When I finish, I press Enter. Another example. This time I will select only these lines. I press Enter. If I click to trim these lines, you notice that everything to the right disappeared, because those two lines were not selected. Command Extend. To extend these lines until the vertical one, I click in this arrow and select Extend. First, I have to select the reference line, it's very important, and only then I click on the lines to extend. If sometimes doesn't work very well, I should click near the desired extension. For example, if I go to this side, I can now extend. Mirror. Imagine that I want to draw these objects symmetrically in this other side. I'm going to click on Mirror. Then I select these objects. I press Enter. Now I have to specify a mirror line which will be in the midpoint of this line, and then I can make a horizontal mirror line to reflect what I selected. Here in Erase Source Objects, I choose No to keep the original ones. By the way, if I choose Yes, it will delete them. Stretch. When I have figures like this one, I can stretch them. I click in the command Stretch here. I select the objects I want to move or to stretch, but not the ones I want to keep exactly the same. Now, if I specify this point, I can stretch the drawing in the direction that I want. For example, I type 500 to stretch that length. If I do the same, even if I have a dimension line, it will also change to the correct size. And doesn't matter where I specify the base point, only the direction. Fillet. If I click in the icon Fillet, I can turn a corner to an arc shape. So, I select two objects that connect in a corner to place an arc there. If I want to edit the radius of the arc, I activate a command, type R for radius, and type its length. I choose 50. Select first line, then second line, and here you have a radius of 50 in the corner. Now, let's assume this is a closed polyline or a rectangle. When I activate Fillet, I can turn the four corners into arcs in one click. Only need to type P for polyline and then click in the rectangle. If I want to keep the original corner, before select the objects, I can type T for trim, and now I choose the option No Trim. Then I select both lines and the original corner stays there. Chamfer. If I click in the arrow next to the command Fillet, I can switch it to chamfer. And as you can see in the icon, the corner will be converted to a straight line. Now, if I type D for distance, I can specify the distances from the corner the line will be. For the first line, I will specify 250, and for the second one, 200. I press Enter, and then I click in the first line, and then in the second line. I can also use chamfer by specifying an angle. I type A, then I type 250 for the first line, and I want it with an angle of 30 degrees. Then I click in the first line, and when I click on the second, it will make the angle that I specified before. Scale. This is used to change the size of one or a group of objects. To activate this command, click in this icon here. Now I'm going to select all my objects, press Enter. I select the base point, but you can see that my drawing is getting too big. It's because I need to specify a scale factor, and at this moment has this value of 160. So I'm going to repeat the process. I select these objects to scale them, now the base point, and for the scale factor I'm going to specify 0.5, and you can see that all the dimensions changed to half, but not the area, because in this case it changed to 4 times smaller. Let's also see another option. After selecting the objects, I also select the base point, and now I can type R for reference. I press enter, and I can change these objects based in the length of a reference line. I am going to select the first point of my reference line, then the second point, and now I insert the new dimension of this line, for example 500. And you can see that everything was scaled in order to have the reference line with the dimension I specified. Array. This creates copies of objects arranged in patterns. For example, I want to copy this window to have it displayed in these 4 floors. So I'm going to click in the icon for rectangular array. I am going to select the window. I press enter, and by default the objects were displayed in 4 columns and 3 rows. So I just need to go to the ribbon on the top that just opened, and I can modify it as I want. For example, I would change to 4 rows. The distance between them I will put 2600, which is the height of each floor. The columns I would change to 2, and in this blank I put the horizontal distance between the windows, 3000. When I'm done, just press enter. Now I will show you the polar array. I click in this arrow here, and then in polar array. I'm going to select this part of this wheel. I press enter. Then I select the center point of array, which will be the center of this circle. I click, and my selected objects were displayed around it. If I go to the ribbon, I can change the number of items, for example 15, and here you have them. Okay, so it was everything for now. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to CAD in Black to check out all the list of tutorials of AutoCAD. Also, if you need more help, I can give online lessons for beginners. Check more details in the channel page in the section About. Thank you and see you next time!